Most sales teams have 10 SDRs doing manual prospecting. I run 600,000 emails a month with a fraction of that headcount. The biggest difference, I'm not an SDR, I'm a go-to-market engineer. And in this video, I'll be going over what is a go-to-market engineer, what it means, sort of how you should be running outbound, sort of the ways of thinking about this. So go-to-market engineer is really just a new hybrid role that's kind of reshaping the go-to-market team. It's kind of just taking somebody who can orchestrate these systems, who's sort of a part specialist in the operations, the sales strategy, and as well part developer. So it's not that you're necessarily doing the outreach yourself anymore. The idea is, how can we almost turn email into a, ads channel or like an ads initiative where you're able to target every single person that you're going to run this ad to, down to the contact level, instead of when you would typically run ads for example, on Google or Meta, you're kind of just going for a persona or an ICP, which is sometimes a little bit unclear of who that person will eventually be. With cold email, you're able to exactly pinpoint who you want to be targeting. So really just what this turns into is a 10 to 20x multiplier from one hire, right? So one go-to-market engineer can easily replace 10 to 20 manual SDRs. And one thing I do want to preface is that the idea here with hiring a go-to-market engineer isn't to necessarily replace all of your SDRs, but instead of asking your SDRs to source leads or source companies to then source the best leads at those companies, find verified emails, that's not work that an SDR sort of shines in. They much more shine in the sort of the art of the sale, which is like the conversations, the follow-ups, that piece of the sales process, which is what I would 100% lean towards. And really at the end of the day, this just makes a huge amplified impact, just because you're building systems that work around the clock. You learn campaign after campaign of what performs. You're able to optimize across the entire funnel, from how many emails you're sending per month into how many meetings it's actually booking. And you can easily send more emails to help get you more bookings, right? So it's very much just sort of when you're building it like this, it's less about finding the exact right person. It's more playing the game of percentages, and the same way that you would run ads. It's not, it's just a lot more scalable, right? So a little bit of credibility for you. In the last 3 years, I've launched 1,000 or more campaigns, and I even think it's closer to 2,000 nowadays. At the moment, I'm managing 600,000 emails per month, and I've built hundreds, honestly, probably thousands of clay tables at this point. But just, lots of experience in this go-to-market engineer role, using clay and all of those, all of those types of tools. So the 3 pillars of go-to-market engineering. First one being just data enrichment, right? So really it's the backbone that most teams underutilize. One really nice, so sort of the first piece that I want to highlight is just using clients' about us sections when you're building lists, just because they really do a good job of using their own keywords of that industry. Another piece that you will need to learn to become a solid go-to-market engineer is just how to structure a lot of campaigns and how to run them simultaneously. And then as well, little tidbit here is just running OpenRouter to help you reduce the cost. Because if you're a little bit familiar with clay, it just gets really expensive to be using purely the OpenAI API calls. So just using OpenRouter and a variety of other tools, which I go over on my channel, especially that table or that video where I go over sort of my best clay table, which is the go-to template that I always go to. I give you a full breakdown of what that means in there. As well, one other piece sort of on the operations side is just how to build infrastructure and how to monitor deliverability. That's another big piece of go-to-market engineering. And then the last piece is, how would you build systems that sort of inherently have personalization built into them? So I'm a big believer that AI won't replace us. It's really just going to be an amplifier of what you're capable of and your expertise and how you think of things. And it's just going to help you scale how you think, and not really be able to think or take over the creative process, right? So if you're crafting first lines that are personalized, if you're automating reply categorization, routing, a lot of this kind of has, maybe you haven't thought about it this way, but a lot of these have inputs and things that you specifically look at, which, could be the About Us section, could be that person's LinkedIn, and then maybe you Google them, and then maybe you check if they have any articles, if they have a podcast you watch, you listen to the podcast. These are all things that AI can help you facilitate. But again, it comes from that expertise of how you would do it manually, and then you can automate it from there. Then you write the prompts and then let AI kind of handle the repetitions of that work, right? So like I said, if you were to do that full list of things, that might take you 15 minutes per prospect. But if AI can help you facilitate that and do it accurately, you're kind of saving, thousands of hours in a year when on something that isn't super, super high leverage. Like, yes, you want to make sure that these are good leads, but now that AI can help you facilitate this, you might as well take advantage of it. So the next thing I want to go over is why most people learn Clay wrong, and how they learn it wrong, right? So what you'll notice is it's really easy to get lost in sort of Clay tutorials, and like you kind of just like watch them. It feels productive, but I'd argue that this is a form of like procrastination, because essentially you're kind of just watching videos and it feels educational, but you're never really building anything. Then sort of the first time people jump into Clay, they get into the idea that they're ready to sort of build their first table right off the bat, but they sort of come into this mode of there's so many options of what you can do with Clay. Like, you don't even need to run cold email, right? Or cold outbound on Clay. So it's just, there's so many different paths that you could take any single list at any point, that I really don't like the idea of building something original the first time you get in the tool. And then the last one is kind of like they never connect it to their actual workflow. A lot of people will jump into Clay, kind of, get Sculptor to build something custom. They'll just talk to it, build something that is sort of a one-off use case where they might be scoring leads and then pulling their Facebook ads into the table, and then scoring those ads and then giving like a pitch of how you would improve it. If this isn't something that you would normally do, you're kind of just like doing a side project that's kind of unrelated to your work. So it's really easy to, get discouraged because you're not getting any actual like productivity out of it. So that results in just, people who churn, stop using the platform, and never get to make the most out of Clay and any other like go-to-market engineering type of tools. Now, before continuing with sort of the presentation, I kind of just want to go over like a campaign overview and like the level of depth that you can go into when you're building campaigns in this way. So in this example, we were targeting bagel shops, and we were targeting the owners of those bagel shops using Google Maps data, US only. And then this specific case, we're only sending emails to people who have a Gmail inbox. So this is how in-depth you can get and targeted with the type of campaigns that you're running. The results you can see up here. So there were 1,600 leads. We sent 2 emails to each roughly, got 47 people interested, and 97 unique replies, right? So very, very solid stats. For context, the ICP was bagel shop owners, which we were building in Clay. And just so you know, when you're scraping Google Maps, you don't actually clearly get who the owner is. So what you do is you run a Clayagent to figure out who those owners might be, and that Clayagent searches the web, searches Google, it like scrapes their website to see if, if maybe the owners mentioned there, were they on the news, maybe in their city, were they talking, was there an announcement post when the bagel shop first opened? So that's kind of the level of in-depth that you can go into with Clayagent. US, just because it was Google Maps US, Google Workspace. And yeah, these were the stats. So very, very solid stats, right? Like, anyone would be extremely happy with these stats. Why it worked: super hyper local targeting. These people also, like these small business owners, don't typically get pitched just because it's a difficult list to build. So most people don't build it. So that's why, and I say it's difficult. It's not really that difficult. It's just more work than your typical get all of your data from Clay, get all of your data from Apollo, enrich those companies, pitch it. So that's sort of the logic there. The data was nice and clean. So, if you're running this for your team, you have a couple SDRs that can handle this. At least the 47 replies that would come through from this your bounce rate's clean, the data's clean. And at the end of the day, you get a campaign that generates one interested prospect for every 34 leads, which is really, really solid. And very scalable. You like when you're running this type of campaign, you can go further in providers. You can go into any level of segment depending on what pitch, but this is sort of what I mean by building a system for outbound. Now, if you're still watching this video, it means that you are interested in becoming a go-to-market engineer, right? So I'm just going to quickly touch over the things that you should be doing, as well as providing you with sort of a 1-month learning plan of how to do that. So the essential skills to stack. First one being learning Clay, non-negotiable. You just need to know the different level of tool, like the different types of tools, what tools are used for, just like an understanding of what's a good tool for finding emails, what's a good tool for validating emails, what's a good tool for just getting my data initially. So all of that, getting familiar with this, getting extremely familiar with the different providers for email infrastructure. So whether that's like buying domains off Porkbun, GoDaddy, or Namecheap, and then as well, where are you getting your inboxes from? Is it ScaledMail? Is it Hypertide? Is it cheap inboxes? And it's just, why are you using those inboxes? What's like the logic behind that? And then even just like, what sequencer are you using? Why are you using Instantly over Smart Lead over Email Bison? Sort of understanding that. Next piece is just getting familiar with Anyden. Or any automation platform essentially, but just learning how to remove some of that manual handoff, especially like managing the reply categories, right? Handling that, feeding a bot with enough context. Next is learning AI prompt engineering. So just how to write prompts, building your own frameworks for this as well. Every single provider, even Clay, has tutorials on how to build good prompts for their Clay agent. But there's logic behind this when you're building a prompt to get it even like cheaper. So there's a lot that goes into this again. And then the next piece is just part sales strategist, right? So you need to know sales fundamentals. This is more relating to like the copy, but as well, like what are objections? How do you handle them? What makes a good lead? What makes a qualified lead? All of that sort of when you're presenting these workflows that you're building and these systems that you're building, people understand sort of the sales outcome of it. So this is that 4-week breakdown that I was talking about. So yeah, just super short roadmap of how I would go about learning Clay if I was restarting from scratch. Week 1, I would do something just called like copy to learn. So find 2 to 3 creators who have built tables on YouTube. I'd watch them build it. I would just watch the video, pause it whenever I need, and I would exactly copy that table. So I get the exact same outcome that they were presenting in that video, just so I can get familiar with the types of enrichments they're making, and just get a good feel for the platform without having to think too much. Week 2, I would just pick my favorite table from all of that and try to rebuild it from memory. So before getting into this, I would actually just figure out like what are the outcomes and like what are the inputs that I'm allowed to use, like the data sources or like what exactly was the finished product, and then rebuild it from memory and see if you can make all the connections, and just get a really good understanding of the workflow. Then I'd build my own table in week 3. So I'd figure out sort of an actual problem that I'm having, whether that's reaching more people or even it's just cleaning up a data source, or like cleaning up your CRM, right? And then it's just learning conditional logic. You can do saves in multiple columns and just kind of play around with the features. Build one full template using the internet, AI, whatever you might need to build it, but do your best to use your own problem-solving skills instead of just asking AI, hey, figure this out for me. And then week 4 would be kind of the wrap-up of this. I'd continue building this, and then I'd integrate it into my existing system. So if you're already doing outreach, how can I push those leads into that platform? If I have a CRM as well, how can I update those leads into my CRM and then make sure that when I'm sending emails, I check into a Clay table that has all of the leads that said don't email me, and we don't email if that happens. So logic like that. And then as well, establishing your own naming convention. So across tables and just across projects kind of what things are named what. So you're never kind of rethinking like, is that one column that I call email final, the final one, or is it Is it the one that I call email with just the number one? Like, so just standardize that. Like in that case, I would use master email as my keyword. But sometimes you're given an email, you validate it, and then you can't reuse the same title. So I'd sort of solidify my naming convention. Yeah. One end-to-end automated workflow. And then I would actually film a video of this. So, you know, you might be new to the platform. You're not too familiar with how to use everything, but it doesn't hurt to sort of publicly share it because you're getting used to explaining your system, why it's valuable, you know, and how it could actually benefit that sales fundamental, right? So it's like this pitch, the hypothesis here is that it would benefit for this, and it solves this problem for this type of client, etc. The biggest mistake that I made in my first year of using Clay was rebuilding the exact same enrichment flows over and over again. So, you know, I'd find email, I'd verify, I'd format the name, clean the company, and I probably rebuilt this, like I say 50, but it was probably like 100 times. To be fair, back then, templates weren't as much of a thing, and like column saves weren't a thing at all. So you weren't able to just like import your like email enrichment flow. But regardless, you know, I could have saved my templates more often and then sort of had version control over it, and then just sort of documented what this table was for, which now I have in place. So it's like when I get data from a specific source from my common sources, I have a table that can easily process any list that's given to me, right? So just starting to build sort of your log of like templates would really be my best advice to you. So you have your way of solving problems. And like whenever you build a new client or a new table for a client, you can check in that folder, first of all. And if it's new, you're able to save it in that folder if that problem ever comes up again. So that's really the biggest thing, instead of always sort of having to restart from scratch. If you're ready to build your go-to-market engine, I filmed a deep dive on exactly the exact way that I structure my most used Clay table that I've used to build over 1,000 campaigns. And I'll leave that on screen right now in the top right corner. And if you are a B2B business looking to scale, and you know, like you might be considering hiring somebody for like a go-to-market position, you might be trying to train one of your SDRs to become a go-to-market engineer. If this isn't something that you like, if this is something you want quickly and not something you really want to train for, or you know, maybe the hiring process is taking longer than you expected to find someone good, we can help you here at Rep Growth. Our motto is really message your entire TAM in 90 days. And that's exactly what we'll help you do. Sort of identify the different segments in your market, the best offers to make at those segments. And yeah, happy to support you if it's a fit. I will leave this in the description of the YouTube video as well. But you'll be booking a call with our co-founder, Christian, where he'll kind of just walk you through what the process looks like and how we'd be able to support you on this. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and that is the end of the video. All right, have a good one. Take care.